But apart from the powers of intelligence, there's another antidote to stupidity, and that is moral character. Let me use as an illustration the 1994 movie Forrest Gump, which is one of my all-time favorites and should be one of yours too. I love the theme in Forrest Gump of chance versus fate and how it depicts culture as shaped by a hapless character, as if to say, life is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. And yet, Forrest Gump's tale does signify something. It says that good character, purity of heart, and simple virtues like persistence and loyalty give meaning to life, and simple-minded yet good-hearted people can save cynical people who grope their way through life, never realizing that they are the stupid ones. There's a scene in Forrest Gump in which Forrest has been running back and forth across the continent for no other reason except to do what the girl he loves told him to do. His simple motivation is always to be faithful. In this particular scene, Forrest has a crowd of people running behind him, and he suddenly stops, and the crowd behind him stops. And as he walks through the crowd to go back home because he's tired, somebody yells to him, "What are we supposed to do now?" This crowd of people running behind Forrest are blind followers. They thought, here's a guy who seems to know what he's doing. Let's follow him. But Forrest is running because it's all he can do. It's all he can think to do, to be faithful to a woman who will never be faithful to him. And the crowd, in contrast, just imitates his running for no other reason than they let someone else do their thinking for them. They are the unthinking followers of fads and fashions. The key line in Forrest Gump, as far as I'm concerned, is, Mama says, stupid is as stupid does. And this is Forrest's stock reply when people call him stupid. It is to say that if you act foolishly, that is what makes you stupid, not some inherent trait. You can have an IQ of 50 or 150. That's not what makes a person stupid. This is Forrest's mama saying, in a way that we can understand it, that intelligence and stupidity are not strictly categorical. Everybody except Forrest's mama mocks and dismisses and pities him because of his low IQ. Yet Forrest's steadfast character is what ultimately brings the people around him to peace and fulfillment in life. Because Forrest is sincere, he's honest, he persists in doing what he knows is right, and above all, Forrest is loyal. And it's his loyalty, his faithfulness to his word, that saves his friends. Is Forrest a blind follower? He's a follower. He's a faithful follower, but not blind, because he has a moral compass, which he gets from listening to his mother, from whom he has learned a sense of goodness and fairness and kindness. Does Forrest let others do his thinking for him? Well, not being a smart man, Forrest is always in danger of being manipulated. But his saving grace is in knowing who to trust and who not to trust, following that moral compass. Forrest is not a smart man, but he knows what love is, and he continually proves it by laying down his life for his fellow man. He risks his life to save his platoon, including Lieutenant Dan, and though he couldn't save his best friend Bubba, Forrest gave his life to carry on Bubba's dreams and support Bubba's family, and all anybody can think to say is that Forrest must be stupid. But it's his sheer determination that made him valuable to himself and to everyone else. In all the ways people found to exploit him, such as putting him on a football team or in the army or in a ping pong tournament, or letting him mow the town's grass for free, Forrest himself benefited because he poured himself into what he was good at. So he always had a purpose in life. The people closest to Forrest became physically and emotionally crippled, chasing what they thought was their destiny. Lieutenant Dan believed he was destined to die young. Jenny, consciously or not, believed she was destined to be exploited and abused by men. Lieutenant Dan and Jenny were the ones living a tale told by an idiot. They were the helpless ones, blown around by the winds of chance. Forrest represents the choices one is given at every turn, and the good character and pure heart required to help one's fellow man and to make the right choice. Everyone acts stupidly. Some people act stupidly more than others. Some people consistently act stupid. This is the human condition. How to deal with that fact is the question. Because stupidity is not only the absence of mental capacity, as in the case of Forrest Gump, but in the case of the rest of us average folks, stupidity results from neglect of mental activity. So in this series called How to Think, in which I am extolling the necessary virtues of thinking, am I saying that being smart is not all it's cracked up to be? Yes, I am saying that. I'm saying that even the so-called idiot can prove that moral character trumps lack of competence. And it can put so-called smart people to shame. One shouldn't be so quick to dismiss people with glib epithets. People who throw the word stupid at others are usually just eager to broadcast how smart they think they are. But like Will Rogers said, we're all ignorant, only about different things.